Ji-Woon Hak would do anything for the attention of others. He thrived under it, energized by each set of eyes that watched him and every tongue that spoke of his name. Amidst the prestige, he had only one desire: more. Since Ji-Woon was a child, he could always gather a crowd, putting on shows at his family's restaurant by performing with throwing knives. Even tourists thought this was a traditional South Korea experience. They would happily throw away their money to Ji-Woon to witness such talents. Ji-Woon's father spent the restaurant's earnings on dancing and vocal lessons for his son, pushing his talents even further so Ji-Woon could attain the fame he never could. Ji-Woon did not disappoint at all. After years of showcasing his abilities to nobodies at talent shows, he hit the track to stardom. Yoonjin Lee, a producer at Mighty One Entertainment, recruited Ji-Woon into her training program. He transferred to her dormitory in Seoul where, for 14 hours a day, he was crafted into a star, taught how to move and sing, how to carry himself with the right balance of confidence and modesty. As draining as this program was, it worked. Yoonjin selected Ji-Woon to join the band No Spin, bringing a raw and unique kind of energy to their tracks. Fame was almost immediate. Ji-Woon lived in a daze of interviews and adoration, and though the frenzied schedule drained the energy of his bandmates, he was invigorated. Each day was an affirmation that he was a star. He was greater than the mediocrity society spewed out. But over time, life grew stale. When he looked at his fans, he saw their joy and envy split 5 ways, thinned out between each band member, and that just wasn't enough for him. The validation that had surged through him left a desperate yearning for more. Ji-Woon kept up a good impression, mimicking a charm long buried under loathing. He recorded the latest No Spin album with his bandmates. He was perfect, never missing a beat. However, after a lengthy lunch break, he returned to the studio to discover fate had granted him what looked like a way out of a slump. A gift, some would say. The scent of burning wires were unmistakable. He rushed to the control room, finding the door had been blocked by fallen speakers, and on the other side were his bandmates, pounding on the door, their cries accompanied by the crackling of flames. Ji-Woon called out to them, rushing over to the speakers, grabbing one and stopping. He froze. Each breath was a conscious, deliberate process in requiring all of his attention. The nearby cries hardly audible until, slowly, he backed away. And then, he heard it. His bandmates. They were screaming his name as they burned, screaming for him to save them. It was the most beautiful thing he'd ever heard. When the fire crew arrived, his tears were genuine. Ji-Woon was celebrated as a tragic figure, a hero who did all he could in a futile attempt to save his friends. Yoonjin paraded him through interviews until it was time to rebrand. He was reborn as the Trickster, a solo artist who produced his own songs, sporting a soft heart beneath a wild exterior. But something was growing. Away from concert setups and television stages, something darker was brewing. He targeted those who lived alone, coming to them in the night. The first was a college music student with a captivating voice. Ji-Woon woke him up with a baseball bat to the skull, binding his arms and legs, gagging him with a rag duct taped into his mouth. He tortured him for hours, dissecting him alive. Yet there was something missing. A sound. A connection. He wanted to hear the victim's wondrous voice pleading as he cut his belly open, but all he received was muffled cries through a rag. So, he learned and adjusted. Victims had to be abducted, driven to an abandoned building where he could let their voices carry unrestrained emotion. He made music from them, prodding in the right places to evoke different types of shrieks and howls. Stabbing the quadratus lumborum elicited a long guttural wail, while slicing the carotid artery created a sound like a cat being strangled. There was honesty in their suffering. Ji-Woon recorded each session, synthesizing and working them into his songs, hiding them behind layers of melodies. Ji-Woon lives within the sounds of Rio de Janeiro. Water splashes into a basin, a skateboard's wheels grind over asphalt, a roofer's belly thrust chirps, and the voice, the angelic ethereal sound of a young Brazilian man singing, floats from an open window. Ji-Woon knows the man. Lucas. He's good, Ji-Woon said. Nowhere near my level, but a diamond nonetheless. His voice is the brush stroke Ji-Woon has been searching for. To think, Lucas practically fell into his lap, the Brazilian man having sung in a recording studio Ji-Woon visited. With Lucas's voice, Ji-Woon can create art, genuine agonizing art, silky, blood-curdling terror. It's exactly what Ji-Woon needs to be perfect. Ji-Woon has already prepared a warehouse at an abandoned harbor for tomorrow's act. Even the most mundane detail required his attention. In the past week, he's transitioned between concert rehearsals to disguising his celebrity visage, stalking out his victim, assuming alternate identities, purchasing supplies, and stealing recording equipment. All the while paying off his security detail to leave him be. The mundane details are what elevate the splendor of his artwork. Lucas will be dead in a day, and it will be beautiful. Ji-Woon freezes as he reaches his hotel room. The door opened a crack. He faintly hears someone rummaging inside. So be it, he knew a crazed fan would take things too far someday. How could they resist him? But he's ready. He'll defend himself. 'Tis the invader for operatic sounds. Like an impromptu aria as he surprises them with a blade in their gut. He pats the knife concealed above his ankle. Ready. Pushes the door open, steps softly on plush carpet, hears the invader around the corner, and sees Yunjin, his manager. "How dare you step foot in here?" Ji-Woon shouted. "Where the hell have you been?" Yunjin shouted back. She's paranoid about death threats they've been getting from a fan. When security couldn't locate Ji-Woon, she came snooping. It's laughable. The threats were nothing but a ploy, a boogeyman he created to throw Yun off his trail if she ever got too close. But he should have expected this. Yun's on top of everything. It's what he respects in her, what makes them a great team. He brings the $1 million voice, and she smashes through any problem in their way. Usually it works in his favor. In her hand she holds... No. Damn it! His sampler. It contains his personal project, the screams of his murder victims layered into songs. It's an early draft lacking subtlety. Violence and horror a bit too blatant for the faint of heart. She's disgusted. Couldn't hear beyond the terrorized voices to understand the beauty inherent in human suffering. The hairs on Ji-Woon's neck stand on end. He sees the moment with clear eyes, are dancing on razor's edge, with Yin dangerously close to discovering who he truly is. Yunjin holds the sampler as if it's dripping blood. The only solace in Ji-Woon's mind is that she doesn't understand what it really is. He knows her. If she thought the sounds were actual murders, she'd have tried to knee him in the crotch and run. But the anger still rattles through her as she moves up to his face. What is this twisted horror bullshit? What if this leaked? You're already attracting crazed violent fans. How would it look if the media heard the demented sounds you're working on? Mighty One would drop you. Your career would be dead. Ji-Woon knows what she really fears. Her career would be dead. For as tall as she stands, as strong as she swings, she's nothing but a scared girl afraid of failure. He knows how to play her. He drops his head, breathes deeply, wipes the back of his hand over his eyes, and says, Yunjin, ever since the death of Nospin, the fire, I'm riddled with horrid thoughts. I lost my friends, and I fear I'm losing my mind. I see awful things behind closed eyes. All that guides me through the dark fog is turning my pain into sound, pouring the throes of death from my heart to a song. Yun's face softens. She sits, commiserates with him. Inside, he's relieving the divine screams of his bandmates as they burned, his swelling heart as they screamed his name, but on his face, he shows nothing but contortions of tragedy. She excuses his error in judgment, confiscates the sampler, and requests he just stay on hotel grounds until the concert is over. It's for his own good, his safety. She tells him to get a drink from the minibar and just cool down. He quietly nods and complies, reminding himself to steal back the sampler in a few days. He lets her pretend she has what he's holding. Control. Despite the stifling humidity, Ji-Woon hides under a hoodie, large sunglasses concealing his face. Now is not the time to attract attention from rabid fans. He waits till Yun is in a meeting and strolls out of the hotel, a bag of necessities in hand. It's his show now. He pulls earbuds from his pocket, allowing the music to envelope him. The song, How I Became, recorded 6 months ago in Seoul. It stands as a metaphor for his childhood, written one drunken night while looking over old photographs. He was 7 years old. He's sitting at the back of the class. He's uncomfortable being seen and speaking. But today is different. In a few minutes, he's presenting on his favorite thing, A young boy shows the class his hamster, but Ji-Woon doesn't care. He holds his flute, going over the notes to the song he wrote. He shuffles to the front of the class, places his sweaty fingers on the instrument, following a deep, unsteady breath, and then he gently blows out a wisp of air, creating a light, whimsical sound. He closes his eyes, moves his fingers precisely, playfully dancing over each note. He ignores the squeaks of the hamster. The flute's sound carries like charms in the wind. With one final soul-piercing note, he smiles and opens his eyes. His classmates are huddled around the rodent, laughing with his eerie move. His teacher too. He walks over to the group, students passing around the hamster as it squeaks, and then finds itself directed into Ji-Woon's palm. He takes it in both hands, and with one steady movement, he squeezes. A squeal, a slight crunch, and then nothing. The children scream, yet Ji-Woon feels nothing. Storm clouds overtake the sky as the first drops of rain spatter onto Ji-Woon's sunglasses. He breathes deeply and goes over the plan he's developed in his mind. The anticipation nearly brings him to his knees. The joy of the artistic process. He strides to the rear door of a cheap 1980s sedan, glances both ways, and appraises the few locals walking the street. Certain no one's watching, he jams a straightened coat hanger around the top of the window, pushing it through the other side. His thin fingers work quickly. Prior experience in breaking an entry pays off. He hooks the wire around the door lock and flicks it up. Without missing a beat, he slides in, closes the door, and flattens himself along the back seat. He takes off his hoodie and sunglasses. From his bag, he pulls out a rope, a blade, a dusty rag, and a bottle of chloroform. He waits, takes out his earbuds, and listens to a song that is not his own, one he heard long ago. He is 8 years old. He sits on his father's shoulders, looking over a sea of human bodies. An elaborate stage is ahead, illuminated by colored spotlights. A man in gaudy, audacious clothing stands in front of a microphone. On each side is a guitarist, behind him, a drummer. A crash of sound, beautiful rhythmic music, a voice that twists delicately through the melody. His father shouts something, but he can't hear. He shouts again. This is what you'll do. This is where your talent will take you. He feels a tingle through his spine and sees something incredible. Everyone, enraptured, focused intently on the sounds of a single man. The emotions of thousands is guided by his voice. He is seen by all, loved by all, and he is wondrous. Ji-Woon never played his flute again. He reveled in sounds that reached global audiences, attracted screaming fans, turned men and women into idols. His childhood fear vanished as he learned to divulge himself through the intricacy and playability of pop, his inner thoughts running atop sound waves, fusing together with other genres, rock, hip-hop, jazz, and punk. It was the music that could deliver him the explosive fame he deserved, a promise that he would never be upstaged. He was no longer confined to his timid shell. He revealed himself through his mastery of music, poured his heart into sound. He became envied, lusted over, and respected for the hits that spilled from his lungs. He takes the earbuds in his hands and smiles. How miraculous that a boy became a god. Rain hammers down on the car's roof. Ji-Woon checks the time. On any other day, Lucas would be in his car already. He knows this, he's done his homework. But Lucas is late, and Ji-Woon wonders if storms have altered his plans. He can feel control slipping away, replaced with something else. It pushes against his chest, forces him to gasp for air, heavy and sticky in his lungs. Everything's ruined. He claws his nails into the car seat, forces his mouth shut to keep himself from screaming. All of that planning, for nothing. He doesn't have time before leaving Brazil to find another beautiful voice. Quickly, he needs his music, fumbles for his earbuds, drops into the floor, frantically scours. The only song playing is his teeth audibly grinding. As he prepares to spill into the street, he sees him. Lucas, drenched under the deluge, walking to the driver's side door. Get your shit together, the show's about to begin. Ji-Woon grabbed Lucas's neck in a chokehold, shoves the chloroform-soaked cloth into his face. The two struggle in a frenzied dance. Lucas twists from side to side, reaching his arms back, grabbing for anything. Ji-Woon does his best to resist the movement, holding the man in place with all his might. Rain smashing down against the car, muting the battle under the pattering of 100 drops, concealing the outside behind a windshield of streaming water. Lucas grabs a handful of hair and pulls Ji-Woon forward, breaking the jerk hold. He bites deep into Ji-Woon's wrist, drawing blood. Ji-Woon screams through gritted teeth, pushing the cloth harder into Lucas's face until he's beating him with it. Lucas flails his other arm in a desperate bid, searching for a solution with no plan. His hand relaxes, releasing Ji-Woon's hair. He stomps forward, head hitting the steering wheel and blasting the horn. Ji-Woon scurries over the seat, pushes Lucas's limp body to the passenger side. He leans back, takes a moment to catch his breath, looks in the rearview mirror, inspects his face, hair, and through a sheet of rain, sees the sight he never expected. Yun's car pulling up behind him. He quickly grabs the keys from Lucas's pocket, jams them in the ignition, and slams the accelerator down. Lucas's limp body jostles back and forth in the passenger seat. Street-side shops and graffitied walls are a blur as Ji-Woon veers around a corner. Wind and rain lash at the city as if it's dead set on blowing it apart. Ji-Woon loses his track of his plan. Usually he would have Yun fix his problem, but now, it's all wrong. He doesn't recognize the streets he's speeding down, only has a vague idea of the direction. Yun remains on his tail. She doesn't know when to quit. The tenacity and courage that proved useful when negotiating his record deal is infuriating now. He's losing control of his artistic process. Hands squeeze the rail, he'd rip it from the steering column if he could. No, you're not going down like this. You have art to make, damn it. He flicks on the radio, and two men are talking about something. He doesn't know. He searches the channels. A commercial for a fast food restaurant. He recognizes the jingle. Keeps going. Lands on, there it is, Brazilian dance music. Rapid tempo, heavy bass line, percussive guitar notes, and a smooth voice. He pushes the pedal to the floor, dodges a few kids playing in the storm, bowls past an old pickup truck, praying no one comes the other way, swings the wheel hard to the left, nearly loses his control in the deep water, but recovers to find himself in a perfect turn. Guns it as the song hits the chorus, trusts in the music, shifts with the tempo, slides with the riffs, feels the beauty in everything he does. Music courses through him. He is living art. He is the crescendo. Behind him, Yun's car comes to a crashing halt. It doesn't matter. The music goes on. Ji-Woon pulls into the harbour he staked out days ago. He reluctantly turns off the radio and scans the area. No sign of Yun behind him, but he's on his guard. Somehow she knew how to find him. He pulls out his phone. His mighty one company phone. She's tracking me like an overzealous babysitter. I should have expected this from her. Always a micromanager. But she couldn't have known he was driving the car, only that he was in it. Ji-Woon drags out Lucas, barely conscious, and pushes a blade into his back. Before shutting the door, he takes his phone and texts a simple message to Yun. Help! He tosses the device on the car seat along with a rag of chloroform and rope. Needs more evidence. He cuts his palm and presses a bloodhound to the window. That'll do. With a thrust of his blade, he pushes Lucas forward. Thunder shakes the frame of the abandoned warehouse. Lucas sits in front of Ji-Woon, bound to a chair, ready to be slaughtered, to sing, to create beauty. Ji-Woon pulls out his blade, but hesitates. Something's wrong. He was too messy getting here. He wants to dive into his art, let the blood spill, but Yun threw him off his game. He can't shake the feeling. He knows she doesn't give up easily, or at all. He walks over to a window and looks out. There's endless rain, lightning, and there, like a drowned rat skulking through sewage, Yun. So damn persistent, and further back, the light flashing of a police car. Yun stumbled into a bloody game and has the power to end him in one move. He rummages through his pockets for his earbuds. He can't find them. He can't focus. He feels the plan slipping away, sees an end to his art. The music cut short. His vision is incomplete. No, he can't let it end. He hears the music. It has always been there, sitting on his father's shoulders, watching over him. He inhales it. It circulates through his veins, becomes him. He'll never go back to being the boy he once was. He's an idol. He's a god. He's the trickster, and he has one last trick to play. There, Lucas sits, bound to the chair. And then, Ji-Woon lets the man go. He just cuts him free, allowing Lucas to escape. Yet he doesn't, which may be the biggest mistake yet. Lucas pounces on Ji-Woon, beating him, getting his well-deserved payback. All the while, Ji-Woon just laughs. What trick does Ji-Woon have up his sleeve? It doesn't matter to Lucas, he's getting his revenge. And just as Lucas is about to deliver the final blow, Yunjin breaks down the door with police by her side, and before a word is said by anyone, police shoot. But not at Ji-Woon. Now, a few months later, he was elated with his work. He left hints for police, arranging a mink boa from a recent photo shoot around a victim's slashed throat. For his next killing, he removed the teeth from a man that a boxer in one of his music videos was without. During a particular audience plea for attention, he killed a fan he had met during a VIP meetup, replacing her eyes with the diamond cufflinks and written, "I have seen God," in blood across her chest. Each scene was a dazzling spectacle. Between music and murder, Ji-Woon's work was discussed globally. However, as violence became his preferred art style, his music career took a hit. Revenue was down, and Mighty One executives pointed their fingers at him. Yoonjin, with professional fury, came to his defense, but she was outnumbered. It was decided that Ji-Woon could no longer self-produce his songs. The decision was devastating. His tracks fused genuine humanity into music, yet executives rejected anything that wasn't generic and expected. And so be it. If they couldn't understand his art, he would incorporate them into it until they did. He had 3 months until he was to perform a private show for Mighty One's board members, 3 months to plan his magnum opus. He transferred obscene amounts of money to a veterinarian in exchange for canisters of nitrous oxide. He then bribed the stage technician of Mighty One's private theatre for access to the room. His celebrity granted him a benefit of the doubt no regular person could conceive. When the show was ready, gas seeped into the room as executives and stagehands awaited Ji-Woon, conveniently running behind schedule. When he arrived, half-conscious bodies were splayed in their seats and crawling across the floor. He worked quickly, binding everyone, pausing only when he came to Yoonjin, the woman who had plucked him from a mud hole and set him on the path he deserved. She would be rewarded, granted special access to the coming display of wonder. Even under sedation, she fought, a raging storm within her, far stronger than the others. He propped her up as the lone audience member, prying her eyes open. The others, sniveling and sobbing, were brought on stage to perform their final act. With a contemptible sneer, he slapped makeup onto their faces and shone stage lights upon them. They became his instruments. To the sound of self-produced melodies, he tortured them, gracefully dashing from one body to another, conducting an operette crescendo from their wailings. They shouted, whimpered, screamed, cried for their loved ones, cried for their mothers. It was magnificent outpouring of emotion, of what it meant to be human, and they did it with eyes fixed on Ji-Woon. Viscera drained from the stage until, with the toss of his throwing knife, the finally human instrument fell silent and the music stopped. Covered in sweat and blood and exhausted, Ji-Woon looked to Yoonjin and bowed. Curtain call. He had attained perfection. With blade in hand, he's made his way to Yoonjin, prepared to tie up loose ends before the credit rolls. But, as he reached her, the fog. From where, he didn't know, but it billowed around them, damp, cool, comfortable. He saw the grand stage, hospitals and temples, forests and slaughterhouses, an eternal plain adorned with rushed hooks, sustained by the million eyes that would watch him, run from him, experience him. All he had to do was accept, become an implement of the fog, and, most importantly, make them scream.